Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to try something a little bit different. In the past, we've had a lot of great guests on, and we're going to continue to have a lot of great guests on. But today I thought we would do something a little bit different and have Sandesh and I as the guests. There was an article published by Politico that was titled, "Coronavirus Will Change the World Permanently. Here's How. A crisis on this scale can reorder society in dramatic ways for better or worse. Here are 34 big thinkers' predictions for what's to come." And I thought it was an interesting perspective to take a look at not just what's happening now, but what does it look like when we come out the other side. So, Sandesh, I wanted to throw that one at you and see what your thoughts are. What are you seeing? What are you experiencing in your world? And what do you think things are going to look like when we come out the other side of this?
I think when you and I have been talking about this, the one big thing is I think people's routines are changing. Days are kind of blending into each other. We've all made this reference to like Groundhog Day, but every day kind of just feels like sometimes the same. It's like, is this Tuesday or is this Wednesday or is this Thursday?
Well, I've noticed that like nobody in my household has any idea what day it is. It's like, is this Saturday? Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay. Nor what time it is even. It's like, what time is it? Oh man, it's 1 a.m. We should get to bed. It's like,
I know.
We're like in this vacuum. It's really strange.
And the kids in the morning, it's so funny. The e-learning starts at 8:00 or 8:30. So like they sleep in a little bit, but they're done with all their studies and all their work in like an hour and a half, right? And it's like 10:00, 10:30, and they're like, "Dad, can we go outside and play? Can we do this? Can we do that?" And I'm like, "Don't you have like all your classes and the e-learning stuff?" They're like, "Oh yeah, no, we're done." So next thing you know, it's like YouTube and all that stuff. I don't know what your kids are into, but my kids are doing like that whole YouTube stuff. They're outside just messing around. They're on FaceTime with their friends. I'm not sure how much learning is happening. Dude, let the kids be kids. I don't want my kids to like not be children anymore because they're not physically hanging out together. You know what I mean? It's big part of growing up is that social interaction. And so if that's the medium on how they're going to connect with each other, the rules have changed at the Patel house. Like typically we would be like, no FaceTime, no this, no that. Now it's like, we don't want to take away their ability to interact with their friends and their teachers and, all of that, So I think that's interesting too, right? It's like the rules have changed. The rules are getting looser,
Well, the rules of society are changing drastically, right?
Yeah.
It's everywhere. I mean,
right.
Like we're starting to see, so one of the things that made me think about like talking about this stuff was this, Politico posted this, article, and it was like, "Coronavirus will change the world permanently. Here's how. A crisis on this scale can reorder society in dramatic ways for better or worse. Here are 34 big thinkers' predictions for what's to come." And so they asked all these people, what's your perspective on it? And some of the rules that used to be in place. I mean, we talked about earlier, like having your kids in the background. I mean, I was on a meeting today. My son kind of walked up and he's hanging there, like, "What you doing?" But and in the past that was like unacceptable. But now it's a different world.
Totally.
We've relaxed all these rules about telecommuting now. Like all these businesses that was absolutely forbidden. Now we're doing it, right? We're going to start to see telemedicine and things like that we haven't seen on a scale like that before. And, we're seeing the relaxation of like HIPAA rules and regulations and things like that to kind of enable some of these things for better or worse, right? We'll see, right?
Yeah, but I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be great, man. I, because you and I work from home, I think you and I sometimes have taken for granted, some of those liberties that it's given us with our families, and if that just becomes the norm, we've been talking about how, employee loyalty has been going down, right? to their companies, maybe, and we've been talking about the mental health impact that's been happening in the tech space. Maybe this is an opportunity that we all get forced into to kind of recenter all of ourselves, and maybe this is something that like all of a sudden all the tech companies make sure that you work from home, you have work-life balance. Those things are important.
Yeah, well, and I think we're seeing how important it is. I think there's going to be a big hangover when everybody goes back to work and they're like, I kind of miss my kids.
Yeah, don't totally. And then if we just think about this period of time, I think it's how is this period of time going to be defined, right? There's a chance that a lot of babies can be born, right? Yeah,
Others.
And others. Just like the alcohol consumption, like the sales of alcohol are just going to go crazy. It's a very interesting period of time. So I wonder, like, how's this period of time going to be defined? Like what are some of the things that we'll look back on and be like, this is when all of a sudden working from home was the standard, right? And Zoom and WebEx and all these platforms are just pervasive, everywhere, and it's just become a regular part of life. Look at how many times my wife and I, more my wife because she just has more friends and better friends, but this is the truth, actually.
Totally know what you're talking about.
Yeah, totally. But she does so many of these Zooms with her like friends, and they'll be like 6, 7, 8 o'clock, like and they all get on and they talk more than they ever have. They have interacted in a more meaningful way than they ever have. Right? They not only is the quality of the time up, but the amount of times that they're actually spending with each other is up too. They're like, oh, let's do this every week. All right, let's do this Saturday. So like now all of a sudden our Saturdays and Sundays are being populated by these family and friend weekly type touch points. I would have never thought that was the case, but if we're going to be home, why not do that?
You're wearing your scrubs here in sort of solidarity with the healthcare workers. There was going back to this article, there was Mark Lawrence Schrad, who's an associate professor of political science and author of the forthcoming Smashing the Liquor Machine, A Global History of Prohibitions. He had this quote that I thought was interesting. He said, when all is said and done, perhaps we will recognize their sacrifices, there being the healthcare workers and the frontline workers in all of this, as true patriotism, saluting our doctors and nurses, genuflecting and saying thank you for your service, as we now do for military veterans. We will give them guaranteed health benefits and corporate discounts and build statues and have holidays for this new class of people who sacrifice their health and their lives for ours. And, I think that's a really interesting point. I mean, it's like, these are people who are really out there genuinely sacrificing themselves. And it would be interesting if it is sort of the new flavor of patriotism that we see.
Well, I think it's more than just the doctors and the nurses. Obviously, they're in the front lines, right? But there's people that are driving trucks. There's people that are, cooking food in restaurants, and how do we feed all these police officers and firemen and everybody else that is doing a social service to us, right?
Well, even the grocery store workers, right? I mean, they're low wage workers, but they're out there risking their lives, really.
Right, and they're super happy. It's amazing. I went to the market hours. The guys is like so bright and happy, and there's people in masks and like plastic gloves, and so. I think all of that has changed, and I think it's humanizing everybody. It's certainly humanizing me. I am some of the things that were really important to me before, just I don't really care for it all anymore at all, and I think it's good. I think it's in a good way, like what you were saying, right? The time that I've had with my kids, as much as like they drive me crazy sometimes, man, we've had some special, wonderful moments. It's just been awesome. It's been really nice.
I mean, and that's why I just feel so guilty about that. While people are suffering, I'm enjoying some of the benefits of having more of this family closeness. Like in the old days, right? Yeah. I mean, like when I was a kid, we just kick them out the door and away you go, and come back later. And now we don't have all these things to drive our kids to. And, it's all that pressure and arguing and fighting over, getting to dance lessons and birthday parties and basketball games and all that stuff. All that's kind of gone out of our lives. And now we have lower pressure environment to enjoy our families, which is really refreshing and nice. Maybe it'll tell us something about how we've been living,
And that's the point, right? It's like in the last 12th. When was the iPhone? 2007, I think, is when it first came out. It's only 13 years ago, right? And then we had social media. We had all these different little, apps that came out, Twitter and Instagram and all that kind of stuff, LinkedIn. And, I don't know, man, is this a time where we kind of take a step back from all of that and just kind of recalibrate our lives and our relationships and what's really, truly important? I have talked to some of my friends more in the last 4 weeks that I've talked to in a year. It's crazy. And it's great to hear their voices, and it's great to talk to them. It's great to see them. I typically don't like to do the video cam, but it's just nice to see somebody, that you haven't seen in a long time. It's
yeah.
This is the new norm, right?
Yeah, I think we were kind of coming off of, like, I think with that, the rise of all the social media and stuff, we had this sort of like period of an increased selfishness, I think, on this, and I think we're seeing that we're kind of all in this boat together, right? And there was another quote that I thought was interesting out of this. This is from Eric Kleinenberg, who is a professor of sociology and director of the Institute for Public Knowledge at New York University. And he said, I don't think we will become less communal. Instead, we will be better able to see how our fates are linked. The cheap burger I eat from a restaurant that denies paid sick leave to its cashiers and kitchen staff makes me more vulnerable to illness, as does the neighbor who refuses to stay home in a pandemic. I think, like, we're not going to view like somebody being sick at a restaurant the same way. I'm like, you got somebody sneezing in a restaurant. I in the old days, you'd see, waiters who had a little bit of something going on, and you're kind of like, that's not the greatest. But I think now it's like, no, we're not gonna do that.
So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
A pizza. You order a pizza. The pizza comes to your house. Comes in a cardboard, right? In that box. So what do you do with that cardboard box? Do you wipe it? Do you disinfect it?
So, let me tell you a little story about that. So, there's this concept of Takeout Tuesday to support, local businesses and stuff like that. And so, we were trying to do that and support a business. And so, like, they have this contactless delivery, right? You order online, you tip the delivery person with a credit card, and they're supposed to ring your doorbell, put the food on the porch and go away, and you pick it and bring it in and do all the crazy things you got to do to keep it clean. And the guy who did it wasn't their regular driver. He was, somebody else, and he didn't understand. And so he was standing out there and like demanding that my wife come out and sign the receipt. Like, nobody signs receipts anymore, right? I think that era has sort of disappeared, right? And he was really persistent about it, and they got kind of into a back and forth over it, and it was like really intensely frustrating. And my wife is like, "Is this contactless delivery?" But when we do bring the food in, one of the things that we do is we'll wipe it down, wash your hands, take the food out, put it onto plates and things like that, and then get rid of those boxes, wash the hands again, and then maybe reheat the food or whatever in the microwave for a little bit to help burn off whatever else we have and that sort of thing. My wife is particularly diligent about that. So what are you guys doing at your house for the food?
We are a lot of Indian food. So we are so lucky. My mother-in-law, as you know, she cooks us Indian food, and she freezes it and then flies here with a whole suitcase of 50 pounds of Indian food frozen. It's amazing, and it's all. As long
as she doesn't try to take that to the security checkpoint. I was behind that guy one time.
Yeah.
He had a whole backpack full of bags of Indian food. Like, dude.
But you've had my mother-in-law's food. How good is that food?
It's awesome. It's awesome.
It's unbelievable. When we, I
love Indian food too, man. I go for that all the time.
Yeah, there's something about an Indian Gujarati mom cooking Indian food. Man, it's so good. My mouth is watering. But yeah, so we've been using her food, right,
Yeah.
which is great, and we have so much. It's just amazing. We've been ordering DoorDash and like the local foods, like local restaurants, and we're trying to contribute to that too. But we're also just trying not to gain 50 pounds. I gained 10 pounds in the last 2 weeks, man. Daddy's
Yeah.
getting big.
Well, I think it's it's a lot of people have been doing. My wife, which is interesting. We were talking about how like your wife is getting online with all her friends and stuff like that. She's been doing she does West African dance, and so she's been doing this online West African dance with her teachers. And she did like a hip hop class, so there's that. My kid's school, one of the teachers there offered a knife skills course, teach you how to cut things properly, how to hold a knife. And so they did that, which was really funny. So it's like, everybody's sort of like doing a lot of self-improvements. Like I am not doing any online exercise classes. So I'm going to be a fat blob that's going to have to be rolled out of the door.
My wife just ordered a mirror. You know what mirror is?
No, what is that?
I have no idea, but it costs a lot of money. And apparently it's like it's the best way I can explain it. It's like a mirror kind of a situation where like they do the yoga classes and like your workouts on the mirror, and you mimic that, I don't know. Based upon historical data, I'm pretty sure that my wife is going to buy this and not use it, and I'll just sit there.
I think I saw that at South by Southwest last year. I think they had,
Really?
Yeah, I think they had that because they're like having Indian yoga masters, right? Like do these classes. Right?
Oh no, this is not just for Indians. This is for white people too.
No, but I mean, like, but they're going like to like the masters in India.
Mirror.
It's not a racist. No, but it's for white people to experience.
Oh man, no, we want all you guys in there. Yeah.
But I think that that's sort of an interesting thing. I mean, there's this sort of like my sister, she is in the business of like some of the personal health stuff, and she has flotation tank business and stuff like that. And one of the things that they've been doing is offering meditation and yoga classes and stuff like that. And they have a room in the back of the place where they do all these classes. And she had a lot of people signed up for these classes. And when all this hit, they moved it online. And so it's interesting. She, in a week time, learned to do video streaming. I helped her set up cameras and lights a little bit, and gave her some pointers and tips here and there. But I mean, she really did it on her own and kind of figured it all out. It's amazing, how like people who just wouldn't have thought they could be in that place are all of a sudden in that place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we've been talking to a lot of customers, and they they say, well, we had this 2-year plan to move everybody onto Microsoft Office products and get onto Microsoft Teams, and we ended up having to do it in a week.
Right.
And I know like there's some gotchas with that, but it kind of begs a question like what was it that was making it take 2 years? Right.
Well, what I think it is that now the entire organization is behind it, right? We talk about tech companies becoming IT organizations. We talk about that, but for companies to truly become IT organizations, it's not just an IT organization's job. It takes the entire organization, right? And I think what we're seeing is now the entire organization is rallying around that agenda. And because of that, the cultural dynamics, the financial dynamics, and all the silos that have been built up are now all of a sudden being torn down to this common goal. And I think that's what we're experiencing right now is customers adapting and changing, reprioritizing, that's my opinion.
Well, I just think I think we're going to find a lot of things. We had a lot of artificial barriers that we were constantly putting in our way. Right.
Yeah.
And this is going to just force us to take a hard look at those. I mean, I think one of the areas where this is going to be really significant, I mean, if you look at government, there is no more antiquated business in the country than the U.S. government. I mean, watching them, they can't do the remote votes. They can't do everything's, like it's like raise your hand and fill out pieces of paper. I mean, there's so little technology in the government's world. It'll be interesting to see how that changes, because it's like there's really no reason why we can't do this. I think it'd be great to have, rather than having all our representatives have to go to Washington and be there all the time, spend more time in our community and still be able to participate at the federal level, right? Like enable that. There's technology to do that. Let's do it, right?
That's a great point, actually. I didn't even think about it that way, but yeah, I mean, when I just think about the work that you and I do, and we're traveling around all the time and getting on flights, doing this and that, we're always asking ourselves, is this worth it? Is the time and the travel and away from the family and everything worth it? If our government officials can get their jobs done remotely, and to your point, they should be more involved in our communities, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's their job.
Yeah, I mean,
That's an interesting point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, Liliana Mason, an associate professor of government and politics at the University of Maryland, College Park, she made the point, and it's like, so many policies that our elected officials have long told us were impossible and impractical were eminently possible and practical all along. I think, it's not just like the technology of government, but it's like a lot of stuff that, we can't do that because that's just impossible to get done, right? But it's doable. There's a lot of things that are doable that we just, we get so stuck in our way of thinking about things that we just need a push like this to get us out of our old thought patterns. It's kind of a strange thing how stuck we get in our ways. As I'm getting older, I find a lot of things I'm stuck in my ways about. So
yeah, but I also feel like there's going to be opportunities for us to all like reconnect back to like instead of having online relationships, like we're going to really value personal relationships. We're really going to value seeing someone, shaking their hand, going out to dinner, and just what do my wife and I do? We go out to dinner with a lot of our friends just to keep in touch. Like, how are you? What's going on with your life? How are the kids? And we go out to dinner and do that. Now it's going to be such a luxury item. It's great.
Yeah.
I wish that my wife didn't have so many friends. But she'd have less friends.
But you know what? Like for us, I mean, like you made the point that like you don't have as many friends as your wife. Maybe we can get better about staying in contact with people, right? I mean,
no, there's no chance. There's no one wants to be friends with me. I've already asked. I've asked so many people. Besides you, you're the only one that said yes.
Well, but I'm actually engaging with friends on a more regular basis than I used to. I mean,
wow.
I do find myself over video like this. Now that we're getting so used to this. I mean, because before I was on conference calls all the time. I never turned the video on. Yeah. Never. But now we're all kind of like interested in social interaction, and there's like a new sort of standard that's coming out that like, I mean, if somebody else turns on the video, you should probably turn your video on. There's a new etiquette that's kind of coming out with this thing. I know you're still hesitant.
Oh God,
but I think that's the thing. And we're all getting more familiar with it. So now in like our personal lives, I'm getting, like more of that going on.
I'm just pissed because then that means I got to take a shower in the morning and, change clothes and,
well,
shave
I
and all
if I
that.
cut my hair real short, I don't look as shabby when I don't shower. So,
dude, it's easy for you. Look at you, man. That's easy. That's easy.
Yeah, this is all easy. I do this,
Just wait until another month of this mug right here, dude.
Well, what's funny,
this
dude?
It's going to get big.
I am watching people slowly go gray. These video conferences, it is the funniest thing because like people aren't getting their hair dyed anymore, and you're like they're getting shaggy, and people they just like crawled out of the woods with their beards and stuff. It's just funny, man.
Yeah.
You can see people in their natural habitat. Well, somebody brought this up too, which I thought was really interesting. Is like maybe our sense of fashion and beauty is going to change through all this because we're going to see people more in their natural state. And what's funny, I did see an article about, the one thing that's funny is that people purchasing topwear has gone way up, whereas like anything on the bottom has just disappeared. So I mean, quite obviously, people are on these video conferences completely pantsless, which I totally get. And then also like the other thing that I thought was funny that I saw was bra sales have really changed. Bras with underwires are the sale of bras with underwires have gone away, and it's all wireless bras that are like the more comfortable bras. So I think people are sort of like reevaluating, like I'm gonna be sitting here all day. I'm gonna be comfortable. I think maybe this is just like a new perspective on the way people look, and more natural look and less, done up. I don't know. Maybe it's a healthier perspective we'll come out of this with.
No, totally. It's like, just don't take yourself so seriously,
Yeah.
We're in technology, man. We're IT guys, we don't need to wear a suit every day. Let's not, let's really evaluate the situation for what it is,
Yeah.
We do our job
and our families are integrated in our lives, and that's on display.
Yes. Yes, in spades, spades. And I apologize for any noise that my kids have made up there, but man, but to your point, man, this is the new norm. I welcome it completely. I'm a big fan of merging my personal and professional life these days, because it turns out that the people I spend the most time with are the people that I work with. So
yeah,
I might as well enjoy it. And that's why I'm thankful for you and so many of our team, is that, we make it fun. If it wasn't fun, out, right? But this is fun.
But like on that note, though, I was just thinking, like, again, feeling guilty about, like seeing the benefit in some of this while some people are suffering. I mean, our dear friend Daniel is has caught it, and I'm sure it's taken a toll on him. I mean, I think he's doing well, but it's not a pleasant thing to have.
He sent me a text. He's like 35, 36, and Daniel works out 4, 5, 6 times a week. Like, he's super in shape, right?
He's
more
a really
than anyone else on our team, for sure. And he sent me a text. I couldn't believe it. He's like, man, this sucks. Like, and for Daniel to say that's not in his personality, right?
No, he's got that blue collar sort of mentality about stuff. It's like, you just get up and you go to work, man.
Yeah. And like, whatever comes your way, you just
deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. And for him to say what he said, I knew, and I just feel so.
He must be really sick.
And he's got 3 kids, and he's got his third one is less than a year old. I think like 4 or 5 months. Man, that's a
scary place to be.
Scary.
Well, so tell me what you've learned from all this, besides the fact that you love the Tiger King.
So many things. Tom Jaggers, man, I'm gonna give him some props. He's the one that pushed me towards it. I didn't realize how big Tiger King was until my wife was even watching it, and then I'm like, why are you watching Tiger King? And she's like, oh yeah, all the wives are talking about it, all the moms. I'm like, really?
I just keep hearing it's the craziest thing you've ever seen.
And it's such a train wreck, and you can't stop watching it, kind of like Donald Trump. But yeah, it's like Joe Exotic is just falling apart, and when you think it can't get weirder and just worse, it just does. It's awesome. You got to watch it. Chris.
Yeah,
it's got to be the most watched show on Netflix right now.
How many TikTok videos have you made?
I haven't made any yet, but I'm definitely practicing. My daughter is so all about TikTok.
Yeah, it's funny. So you know
Is
what?
yours?
Oh yeah, totally. But so there was my wife sent me this thing. It was really funny. It was this family, and they must have been Irish or something. They sounded very Irish. And it was like a mother and a father and I think 3 kids, right? And it starts off in the morning in their house, and the father's there in his robe, and the mother's there in her robe, and the kids are like trying to get them to do TikTok, and the parents are just looking at them like, "Oh my God, what are you guys trying to make me do?" And then like throughout the day, they're like, they're trying to learn these steps and do this thing, and it's to that new The Weeknd song that's really popular, and they're trying to do this, and the father just cannot get the dance steps right, and they're doing it over and over and over, and the video is like 15 minutes long, and it's this family just trying to make this TikTok, and then moves from inside to outside, and then they're in the yard, and then the dog's getting in the way, and like everything's going wrong, and nobody can get the dance right, and they keep tripping and screwing things up. But the thing that I thought that really struck me about it was, one, it's like here's an entire family trying to learn a dance move, and they have the time in their lives to spend an entire day trying to figure it out. When was the last time that people had that kind of time with their family to do these things?
I have that time. That time.
But it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm actually really enjoying the whole TikTok thing. I got a routine down. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm about 80% of the way through. But this is not the end of my TikTok days. Like,
I've got this one guy that I love on there, and he's like a chef, and it's like, and I'm out. And he's got this. He's like always banging on things and stuff. But he's great at what he does. And like in a minute, he teaches you how to cook an entire dish the right way. And that's exactly what I need, because like I can pay attention for a minute. I got a minute.
Is that what it is? It's just a minute?
Yeah, TikTok's limited to a minute. The max length of the videos are a minute. So you got to pack all that content into a minute.
But some of them are even less than that, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. You can be less. You just can't be more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's something to be said for being concise, short form video. And, it's kind of funny, too, because, we talk about like e-learning and stuff like that, right? And, I've mentioned this before. There's that magician Shin-Lin who won America's Got Talent, and he's all over Vegas and all that stuff like that. And he was being interviewed, I saw, and the interviewer asked him, so how did you learn all this magic? Because, I mean, I don't know if you've seen him, but it's like his sleight of hand is like unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Like,
what's his name?
I think it's Shin-Lin, isn't it?
Shin-Lin.
I think that was it. Maybe I'm going to be so ridiculed if I totally screwed that up. But they interviewed him, and they said, "How did you learn this?" And he's like, "I just watched a lot of YouTube videos."
Oh yeah, I saw that guy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm like, you can achieve that level of mastery just from watching YouTube. I mean, I think it sort of, like with some of the things that we're watching online in like college courses and things like that too. I mean, there's so much you can learn. I learned so much stuff from YouTube in the course of a day. More than I think I learned in school, my entire school career sometimes. And I learned all, I see these people that are playing guitar and they know all these songs. Like when I was learning guitar, I had to sit there with a record and, pick the needle up, move it back and try to figure it out again. And, like now they got here's a tutorial on YouTube and tabs and, all this stuff. I mean, like the amount of talent that I see emerging from all this because of the access to all these resources and education, it's really kind of cool. And I think we have to get a little bit more thoughtful about how much of an impact that can have on our traditional education.
Yeah, but also just traditional entertainment.
I
mean, just my kids are watching YouTube and that on the TV, right? And I don't even know, these shows are just so weird, man. But they love it. And they keep watching this shit, and
drives you nuts.
Drives me crazy, but I don't know. I watched like Three's Company and
Yeah.
you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Well, this is
the Cosbys and stuff, but
yeah, I mean,
it's
I think
weird.
content now is so highly individualized, right? I mean, like the kids can find exactly what makes them happy, and I'm
Right.
finding content that makes me happy. We're all kind of, consuming a lot of content these days, right? And it's all
But
very
a lot of that content
personalized.
is so about like me. It's like, hey, look at me. Like all the stuff that they're doing. It's very it's like self-centered. It's like
Some of it
I'm trying to
is.
figure out the stuff that my shallow kids watch is very much like, look how cool I am. I'm gonna do this and that, and I don't think it's even funny. That's the
No.
worst part. It's like you're not even funny. You guys
Yeah.
want to be funny, like that's a different conversation. But yeah, they're not funny.
My son watches this one guy who is almost completely stupid and sounds like Gilbert Gottfried. Like imagine
no.
Gilbert Gottfried doing that voice all the time and not being funny ever.
Yeah.
And I hear that coming out of various rooms in my house all the time. It just makes me crazy. That's one of the downsides of having everybody home all the time, I think.
Yeah, but at least we know what they're watching now and how dumb it actually is. But
yeah, maybe ignorance was bliss, right?
yeah, exactly.
So, Sandesh, do you have any closing thoughts as we try to land this plane here?
No, man, no closing thoughts except for man, times are changing. Things are getting really interesting and different, and I'm glad that we're talking, Chris, because I just for me personally, going through all of this is it's an interesting part of my life. It's an interesting time of our history, and I just want us to make sure that we keep trying to help people and figure out ways that we can help out in this whole crazy situation that we're in.
Yeah, I mean, it everything is weird, right? I mean,
It's so weird.
It's just weird. I mean, we're weird to start with, but now it's even weirder. Weird on weird, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't even want to do my
time.
job. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to sell to anybody. I don't want to.
It doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're doing the right things and that we have our priorities straight, and we don't look back and regret some of the things that we do. Yeah, because I've never been in this situation, so I just don't know what to do, and I just hope that we're making good decisions.
Yeah. Well, and the thing I think that's most disconcerting for me is just like, when is this going to end? Like how long is this going to last? Is this going to be, is it going to be 18 months of this, or are we going to, do another month of this and then everybody's going to go outside and it's all going to come back and then we're going to all go back inside for another few months. And then, like what are we going to do? How's this all going to end? And, what's it going to look like when we're on the other side?
Yeah. Well, again, we're going to have to change. I think everything has already changed. We don't really know what the true impact is, but
I think we've broken down some barriers to things that we didn't think were possible, but are obviously now possible. So I think it's been a good catalyst for certain change. So hopefully that benefits us.
Well, we definitely found a lot of silver linings, right? That you pointed out before. There's been some wonderful things, but it's like what you're saying. It's I feel so guilty feeling good about anything right now. Because our country and our people are going through just a lot of shit right now, and I want to be respectful of all of that, man. It's just so weird. Everything is weird.
Well, it's going to get worse before it gets better too. I mean, it's sort of like it's like I feel like it's kind of that like you get into this gallows humor, like, or when you're at a funeral and you're trying to cheer people up, so you're telling some jokes, and then you're like, why am I telling jokes at a funeral? That's awful. But I mean, that's what you're there to do, to try to take some of the heaviness out of it, right? So who knows? I don't know what the right thing is. I'm socially awkward, so what do I know, right?
No, you're awesome. But like my defense mechanism is like anytime it gets too serious, I just want to make a joke. You know, like I don't like to take life too seriously. I don't like to take things too seriously. So if I can't laugh about it, it's uncomfortable for me, you know. And so that's why it's good to have people like you that I can make jokes and just try to pretend like, you know, this shit's not happening, you know.
Well, and I feel my tendency is to make wildly inappropriate jokes too when I get really anxious and feel like that, right? And it's like, oh God, I shouldn't say that. So I have to self-censor a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Hey man, it's cool.
Well, it's been great chatting, and let's bring this to a close before there's so many hours of video to edit that, you know, I just I tip over. So thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, we're going to have a whole bunch more of these podcasts coming up soon. So click the like button, hit the subscribe button. That really, really helps us out. And if you want to get notifications, click on that bell icon and you will get notified when we post new content. And we will see you in the next video.